Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Beastly Eel, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the 2-episode series premiere of Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. So the first episode starts off with Peter Parker being late, which shouldn't be all that shocking, being late to going to his, what's it called, um, orientation for high school. So this is supposed to be the most prestigious high school in New York, or at least in the area. Where he can basically they got a huge science program which is going to help out significantly for him for his future. So obviously he's running late. Aunt May decides to drive him to school because he misses the train. So he then gets a ride with her. He gets there and is like super excited to finally start his journey as a high schooler. So as he gets out the door, all of a sudden this massive portal opens up, and none other than a character that looked like Venom. I'm not gonna lie, but I don't think was Venom. It was Shathara. Now, Shathara is a creature that is very similar in the sense of power-wise to Peter Parker, in the sense of Spider-Man. Now, they normally live in the this particular creature normally lives in the astral plane. Now, obviously, this they were fighting Doctor Strange, who accidentally let her into the wherever they were, right over the school. And so Doctor Strange begins to fight her. He's having a real difficult time. We see him using his magic and everything else. He realizes where he teleported this creature to and like felt really bad. There was some destruction to the school. He had to use his magic, flip the dimension where he would make it so gravity was on a 90-degree angle from what it normally is. Then this girl named Nico, Nico Mariah, no, Nika Namora, I think is how you say her name. Anyway, it doesn't matter right this second. So she looks like she's going to be attacked by this creature, and that's when Peter Parker runs over to try to stop it. The creature then goes after Peter. While that happens, Doctor Strange uses his mystical powers to wrap the creature up using extra arms that he created through magic and pulled the creature out of the area completely. So it looked like this is like the new school year, and Peter Parker is going to the regular high school because the other one was, well, destroyed. So I'm sorry, during that fight in the portal, there was like a spider that once the portal closed, came down, bit Peter Parker on the neck or on the back. Then he passed out, and that's how that scene ends. So then we travel forward where he's going to regular high school. He apparently is already Spider-Man, even though he's not well known yet. And he has a very different suit than we were expecting because on his way to school, he uses his Spider-Man suit to save Harry Osborn. But what we see here too is his suit with his webbing uses gas to help propel his webs further, it looks like. So it's almost like a steampunk looking suit more than a typical Spider-Man suit. Um, so anyway, so he beats up these three teenagers slash thugs and save Harry Osborn, um, and then he goes to school. While this is going on, though, the robbers, the thieves, and Harry were all filming, so everyone got to see what Spider-Man was like. So then he gets out of there. He goes to school. He's late. Has to stay after school. Um, he's then on his way home, stops a robbery um, at a pizza shop, and during that time, I don't want to phrase this. During that time, he stops the robber and then offers like the person to be like, "Hey, can you just let this girl have a chance? You know, she's obviously super much needs forgiveness and everything else, and like she's just down on her luck." And the owner of the shop is like, "Fine, I got my money back. I don't care." So he lets Peter Parker or Spider-Man have a free pizza. Spider-Man takes it, eats it, and then realizes he's going to be late. While he's changing back into Peter Parker, he then goes to into the trash and sees a DVD player. So he takes it. He goes then back up to go see Aunt May, and we then have a very similar scene to um, the Civil War scene where we get introduced to Peter Parker. And instead of Iron or Tony Stark being in the room, it is none other than Norman Osborn. And that's how the episode ends. So that's the first episode. The only thing I forgot to mention was um, Peter's friends with Nico, who is one of the members of the Runaways, who is a mutant with mystical powers, um, if I remember correctly. And then we have his former babysitter, Pearl, who is supposed to be, or going to be, or could be um, Wave. Wave is a um, female who has the ability to manipulate and control water, and also can breathe underwater as well. At this time, nobody else has powers except for Spider-Man, to our knowledge. So that might be for later on, but for right now, that's where it goes. They also have the idea of, so in school, he's trying to get with Pearl. It doesn't work out because she's dating a football player, who then wants to be his lab partner because of how smart he is. So he then becomes the lab partner of Peter Parker. And so we flash forward to the second episode, which starts off right where the first one ended, which is Peter Parker meeting Norman Osborn. So Peter knows exactly who Norman is, and Norman is like, hey, I look for the most intelligent kids with gifts in general and wanting to know exactly what they can do for the future, especially in the science field. So Peter Parker's like, oh, that's great. I love hearing that. And that's when Norman is like, all right, well, guess what? I'm offering you an internship. And Peter Parker's like, well, is there any way I could be a paid internship? And Norman is like, yeah, I always take care of my interns, so it's not that big of a deal. So Peter Parker accepts, and he says, "Good. I'll expect to see you there tomorrow. When you do, please let the let when you get to the security desk, let them know um, that you're to come see me and meet, and I'll give you a full-fledged welcome when you first arrive." And so Peter's super excited. The next day at school, he's telling Nico about how excited he is about this internship, and Nico's like, "That's great and all. Like, I want to be happy for you, but like Norman is not the greatest person in the world." And that's when Pearl hears it and is like, "Oh, so you're going to be an intern there? That's awesome." Obviously, the football player hears of it as well, so we get this. Everyone's excited for Peter Parker. Um, Nico invites or tries to get them all to go to see the game because she doesn't want to go alone, and Peter is apparently popular right now, is the best way as I could describe it. So Peter says he'll stay for a little bit and then he has to go to his internship. So at the end of the school day, he goes to the football game to watch a little bit, realizes that he's going to be late, runs over to Oscorp, which apparently he gets there 2 minutes early, but apparently is still late because he was supposed to get there 15 minutes beforehand to get scanned in and everything else, which he did not know. So he goes, he's trying to tell people like, "Oh, Norman told me to go see him once I got here," and the guy's like, "Yeah, sure. We're gonna go up to the lab where everyone else is." So when they gets to the lab, I'm pretty sure that more names will ring a bell to me, but I cannot for the life of me think of exactly who the rest of them are. One of them, so there's three other students there. One is from Wakanda, and the other two are, I believe, from New York, or at least in the United States. And I think one of them, I cannot remember, but I feel like I know what one of them is supposed to be, and I cannot for the life of me remember. And I tried looking it up too, and it didn't register right away. So anyway, they're all competing and they're all supposed to be doing all these tasks in the lab to determine where their gifts are going to be utilized. So Peter's hoping for robotics. Robotics goes to the smart aleck kid that was there, and Peter goes to energy. And he gets to work with none other than Dr. Connors. Dr. Connors, though, in this is a African American female. Still has the missing a limb, but they're focusing on arc reactor like technology because they cannot use the arc reactor because Tony Stark patented it. So because of that, they're going to try to find a new way of creating energy in that kind of scale without using the exact same technology that Tony Stark used. So they're working on that, and then they're about to. They take a 15-minute break, and that's when Peter decides to be Spider-Man again, to stop a burning building because apparently there's an arsonist inside causing a lot of mayhem. So he goes inside to try to save people. There's nobody else in there because apparently the Scorcher, who is who they're supposed to be, is there burning the place down for insurance money. Come to find out, he's at the wrong street and the wrong building, and he gets really ticked off with that. Tries to burn Peter Parker. Spider-Man. There's a huge firefight, obviously, literally. Spider-Man kicks him hard through the wall and sends him into a pet store across the street. He goes in there, protects all the pets, sees all the fire and everything else. Does a lot of damage to like the suit and everything else, but still isn't enough to completely stop him from working. At one point, Scorcher cranks up the heat. Spider-Man shoots his web at the glass of the aquarium, knocks it down, and causes a lot of water to come, and stops the Scorcher. Spider-Man picks up all the fish, throws them into another tank to protect them. He's then, oh, are you knocked out, buddy? And then he goes to get up, and then he punches him because he freaks out and knocks the guy out. And he's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like that's not what I meant to do. He then tries to go back. Oh, so while that's done, he then gets a bunch of texts from Dr. Connors being like, "Where are you, Peter?" And he's like, "Oh no, I gotta go." And he gets there, realizes he's late. He gets in trouble and yelled at by the head scientist. And then during all of this, Norman Osborn's guard comes in and tells Peter that he has to go see Norman. So he goes upstairs and Peter's like, yeah, no, I'm sorry I'm late. Like I know I need to do better and like I'm sorry and I really want this and I really want a second chance. So if you could do that, that'd be great. And Norman shows him a security camera of Peter tur take putting on the Spider-Man costume and then webbing away. And Norman's like, so you're Peter Parker. I mean, so you're Spider-Man. And Peter Parker's like frozen and not quite sure what to do, and that's how the episode ends. So next week there's going to be 3 episodes, and I feel like we're going to see Norman Osborn working with Peter Parker, and I have a feeling that their relationship is going to be similar to that of the relationship between him and Tony Stark in the main MCU, the main timeline. So I'm very curious to see if that's what the take is. So this is supposed to be a parallel timeline, but not an exact timeline, obviously. So like this is supposed to be very similar. Obviously, it's got some significant differences as well, because like Norman Osborn exists, and to be fair, not that Norman Osborn doesn't exist in the MCU yet. It's just thought of that he hasn't waved his head yet, so Oscorp doesn't actually exist yet, or at least isn't a big player. So I'm very curious on that front. But obviously, in this, he is for sure. We know right now of the Scorcher, who had a symbol that was very similar to how Oscorp does his without the full Oscorp. So the idea is that potentially could have been something that Norman helped create with his weapons. Also, I actually think that the head scientist that was there is actually the Tinkerer who would have created um, the equipment that the Scorcher was using, which is definitely much canon in the sense of the comics and everything. So that's not super far-fetched, but it's unclear of that obviously yet. But I'm very curious to see where the future holds. But we're definitely potentially have Lizard. We definitely have the potential of having a Sinister Six because we know in some of the trailers we've seen Doc Ock, Scorpion. Um, we have the potential of the Lizard, and the Tinkerer. I think that's him, even though I cannot for the life of me know for sure. But we'll have to wait and see. But for let me know what you guys thought about these episodes in the comments down below. Did you like them? Did you not? I know a lot of people had trouble with the animation, but I liked it more watching it because it was much more comic book themed. Like it was meant to be like as if you were reading a comic, which I actually enjoyed more than I thought I was going to. Because based on the trailers, I wasn't a huge fan, but I'm glad to see that it worked out, in my opinion, for me anyway. But like I said, let me know in the comments down below what you guys thought. And as always, if you like the content you see, please make sure to like and subscribe down below. Other than that, this is going to be Beastly Eel signing out. Have a wonderful night. Bye bye.